Hello friends, probably few car owners in the world have never heard of the French company Michelin, a leader in the development and production of car tires. I am also sure that the word Michelin is firmly associated by our contemporaries with the amusing round man made entirely of tires. You can see this logo at gas stations, races, in the best thematic magazines, and even in specialized tourist guides. Moreover, it is no wonder that today, the company's products are sold in 170 countries worldwide, with an annual production volume reaching 200 million tires. Michelin has a history of more than a century of development and the most advanced technologies in tire production. Of course, it would be naive to say that the company reached these heights easily and quickly. The motto of Michelin, "The best way forward," which appeared more than 100 years ago, turned out to be truly prophetic for the company. This idea has laid the foundation for development for the next century, constant progress, experiments, and innovations that help the brand achieve incredible success. I won't keep you in suspense and will tell you everything step by step, specifically, how a company that started with waterproof coats and balls evolved into a global giant. The founders of the company are considered to be the brothers André and Édouard Michelin, but the origins of their family business date back long before their appearance. In the distant year of 1829, a certain Édouard Dubré married a Scottish woman named Elizabeth Pugh Barker, whose father at the time was the creator of the world's first waterproof coat made from rubber fabric. The old man was a fanatic about his work and often experimented in an old barn where he would spend hours inventing something new and seemingly useless. At least, that's what everyone who saw his creations thought. It's worth mentioning that, in that distant and harsh time, many well-known figures endured a lot of criticism because their inventions were often considered useless. People simply weren't ready for progress. Something similar happened with Elizabeth Barker's father, until his creation became popular. The fact is that waterproof coats made of rubber fabric soon gained great popularity, as they performed well in the harsh climate of Scotland and rainy Britain. At first, they became popular among celebrities, and the fabric turned out to be so comfortable and durable that years later, it gave Elizabeth a great idea of how else this material could be used. The first thing that came to her mind was children's balls, and she started making them in that same barn. Initially, she made them by hand, but a little later, she started using a mechanism that her husband specifically invented for this purpose. The business turned out to be quite profitable, and to expand production, Elizabeth's husband decided to invite his cousin Aristide Barbier to help. Together, the young entrepreneurs opened their first venture, a small enterprise called Barbier Dauber etc., which produced agricultural equipment. This was more in Barbier's field, but of course, the balls, for which Dauber was responsible, were still produced. Let's be honest, both partners fully understood that the future was with rubber, and both wanted to sell as much of it as possible. Rubber was an ideal material for many products, and it was easy to manufacture and had many advantages. Soon, in addition to the balls, they began producing various gaskets for plumbing and additional materials for them. The small production ran smoothly and expanded. What happened next? In 1863 and 1864, the company faced a dark period. Both of its founders passed away within a few months of each other. For the factory, which had been growing and developing every year, these were dark times. Losing valuable and responsible leaders, employees began to leave the factory one by one. The factory fell into a deep crisis, and production stopped for several months. It's unknown whether we would ever have heard of Michelin if, at that moment, a grandson of Aristide Barbier, 33-year-old engineer André Michelin, hadn't returned from Paris. He simply couldn't allow his beloved grandfather's business to be destroyed. It's worth noting that André always stood out for his extraordinary intelligence and intellect, which allowed him to graduate with honors from university and gain recognition among the French elite. Soon, André took control of the sinking company and managed to relaunch it. The business slowly but surely began to gain momentum again. 3 years later, André asked his younger brother, Édouard, to help him manage and establish the family business. Édouard immediately dropped all his current affairs and even closed his own profitable art studio in Paris to help his brother, becoming the co-owner of the enterprise. From that moment, or to be precise, from 1889, the company changed its name and proudly became known as Michelin and Company. This year is considered the official founding date of the now world-famous tire manufacturer. The brothers understood that the business needed changes. The balls they used to produce were no longer as popular as they once were. The brothers faced a difficult task, to determine and highlight a product that the existing factory could manufacture quickly, and it had to have a unique selling point. They started small. In the early years, the Michelin factory produced various tubes, from waterproof to gas tubes. Gradually, the product range expanded to include different valves, brake pads, and similar items. It's hard to say whether the company was a leader in the production of all these things at that time, but one thing is certain, it stayed afloat. Michelin might still be producing plumbing pipes today if one day the brothers hadn't noticed a vehicle that amazed them both. It was a bicycle, rapidly gaining speed and popularity at the end of the 19th century. Bicycles at that time used fixed tires, which were simply glued to the rims. The brothers immediately realized that this was exactly what they needed. No, they didn't buy themselves a new bicycle, but they offered their vision for one of its components, removable bicycle tires. The first removable tires were tested in 1891 during the famous Paris-Brest-Paris bicycle race, on a segment of the track littered with nails. As expected, the victory didn't take long. First place was deservedly taken by cyclist Charles Tarrant, who completed the entire distance on a bicycle equipped with removable tires from Michelin. Naturally, after such a resounding success, interest in Michelin products from bicycle owners grew like mushrooms after the rain. Within a year, the Michelin factory was selling several thousand tires for bicycles, first in France and then across much of Europe. In addition to bicycle tires, the factory gradually began producing tires for carriages pulled by horse teams. But at the end of the 19th century, the brothers saw a completely new opportunity: automobiles, which clearly had a future. After horse-drawn carriages, self-propelled carriages began to appear all over the world, and newspapers were abuzz with stories about another self-taught inventor building something similar in his garage. Wealthy people gladly gave up horse-drawn carriages in favor of the wonder machines. The brothers realized they couldn't delay, or someone else would take their place. Soon, Michelin began creating their first pneumatic car tires. However, the best advertisement, in the brothers' view, could only come from car racing, which was incredibly popular at the time. That's exactly what happened. The company confidently and absolutely free of charge provided its products for various competitions, earning itself a name in the process. In 1898, one of the most significant events in Michelin's history took place: the birth of the legendary company symbol. Every car owner has likely seen the image of the little man made of a stack of tires, known as bibendum. In the 21st century, bibendum was recognized as one of the most famous advertising logos in the world, but his creation happened in a rather interesting way. During preparations for the World Exhibition in Lyon, the person responsible for setting up the stand stacked tires of different diameters in columns on both sides. Looking at this, Édouard Michelin jokingly said to his brother, "Look, if we add arms, it would make a little man." The brothers laughed at the quirky observation, but the idea of creating an interesting symbol stuck with Édouard. Soon after, he approached a well-known cartoonist, Agolap, Marius Rosselin, who prepared several sketches of a fat beer king holding a mug. The concept was that the mug supposedly contained nails, which the tire man could easily swallow. This would convey to customers that Michelin tires were so strong they could overcome any obstacle on the road. The brothers liked the company symbol, although they soon abandoned the beer mug idea. It's generally believed that much of Michelin's success is closely tied to the company's smart advertising, which consistently used the image of bibendum. Introducing the popular character had a huge impact on the company's further success in the global automotive markets. Incidentally, Michelin was the first tire company to place advertisements in printed publications. The first thing that came to mind for buyers when they heard the word tires was that little tire man. The Michelin brothers also sought to popularize road travel as much as possible to further strengthen their market influence. As a pleasant bonus, travelers who purchased Michelin products received special tourist guides and catalogs where they could find information on nearby gas stations, restaurants, and hotels. All establishments where the prices of dishes were high were marked with a single star. No one could have imagined that the Michelin Red Guide would become so highly demanded by travelers. The first 35,000 copies of the guide contained prophetic words from André Michelin. This guide was born at the dawn of a new century and will last as long as the century itself. At the same time, Michelin expanded into other countries, opening its first factories outside France. In 1908, the company created the first ever tires exclusively for trucks. As part of this new development, rigorous tests were conducted, including a military truck run organized for a competition to select trucks for the Russian army. The number of Michelin tire fans grew every year. It became one of the first global brands, known to everyone who had any connection to cars. As a result, on January 20, 1911, Michelin House in London opened its doors, becoming the company's UK headquarters. The entire decor of the building was styled in Michelin advertisements, featuring images of bibendum. The year 1912 also marked an important event in Michelin's history. The Michelin brothers submitted a petition proposing to number all roads in France and place road signs along them. 8 years later, with Michelin's support, this idea would also be implemented in the UK. During World War I, Michelin offered its services to the French government by producing 1,884 aircraft for military use and providing its largest tire warehouse as a hospital for severely wounded soldiers. After the war, the company built several airstrips with a unique surface that allowed planes to take off even in heavy rain. At the same time, Michelin acquired nearly 9 hectares of land in the southeastern region of Vietnam, where it established its own rubber plantation, which operated until 1975. In 1926, Michelin published its first green guide, which covered all possible routes in the northwest of France. Despite this, the company didn't forget about its established product, the Red Guide, which began to specialize in restaurant reviews and introduced the now famous 3-star rating system. Today, this system is one of the most influential and renowned restaurant rating systems. Until a certain point, the guide was free, until one of the Michelin brothers saw it being used as a bench prop. After that, the guide's price was set at $2. 4 years later, in 1930, 2 more stars were added, and since then, the system has remained unchanged. The restaurant guide features various designations, such as Good View, Budget Restaurant, and others, but what interests people the most are the stars. For example, 1 star means a very good restaurant in its category, 2 stars indicate excellent cuisine worth a slight detour, and 3 stars represent an outstanding chef whose work is worth a trip to the country just to experience. Stars can be awarded not only to a restaurant's cuisine but also to the chef. If a chef changes location, the star goes with them, making them a valuable candidate for high positions. The maximum number of stars for chefs is 3. No one knows the exact rules for awarding stars, as it's a commercial secret, but it's known that the main criterion is the food itself, with atmosphere, service, and interior design being secondary. It is incredibly difficult to earn a Michelin star, but losing one is quite easy. It's forbidden to use the information about receiving a star for self-promotion. If a restaurant is caught boasting about it, Michelin reserves the right to exclude it from the ranking. People should only learn about stars from the guide itself. Currently, there are 104 establishments with 3 stars, 380 with 2 stars, and 2,153 with 1 star. And yes, friends, these are the very same Michelin stars that many people seek when choosing restaurants. Before World War II, the company opened its first factories in Germany, Spain, Italy, and Argentina. It also developed and began producing the first low-pressure tire, Super Comfort, with a lifespan of up to 30,000 kilometers, something unprecedented for tires at that time. By then, Michelin had become a giant in the business. Naturally, the company's leadership included the sons of the founders. However, in an unexpected tragedy, Édouard Michelin's son Étienne Michelin died in a plane crash at the age of 34. His brother Pierre then took over the management of the company. In 1935, under Michelin's leadership, the company acquired Citroën. Under the Michelin brand, the Citroën 2CV car was launched, which became iconic. On December 29, 1937, tragedy struck the family again when Édouard Michelin's second son, Pierre, died in a car accident. As a result, the reins of the company passed to Robert Puiseux, who led Michelin until 1955. Michelin achieved success not only through smart advertising campaigns and high-quality products but also thanks to many innovative ideas and developments that revolutionized the tire industry. After World War II, the company faced serious challenges but overcame them by releasing the first radial tire in the world in 1946, known as the Michelin X. The tire was created using a completely new technology that doubled its lifespan compared to traditional models. This breakthrough meant that for decades to come, Michelin factories couldn't keep up with the demand for their products. In 1967, an improved version of the Michelin X tire was introduced, and Michelin acquired the bicycle tire company Walber. 2 years later, Michelin sold part of its shares in Citroën to the Peugeot Group. In 1977, Michelin opened its first test center. Development never stopped, and with it came new, improved tire models. For example, Michelin radial tires helped Ferrari win the Formula One World Championship in 1979. In 1981, the company released the Michelin Air X, the first radial tire for aircraft, and radial tires for motorcycles also emerged. By 1986, Michelin was producing 40% of all tires in North America. In 1994, Michelin introduced the Michelin Energy, the world's first tire known for its improved fuel efficiency. In 1998, the company developed a revolutionary concept, a reinforced tire that allowed vehicles to continue driving even after losing internal pressure. That same year, Michelin launched the first color tire for cars, and a year later, it introduced the Delta radial tire for high-speed and powerful motorcycles. In the 2000s, Michelin only strengthened its global market position, opening around 10 new factories worldwide. In 2012, the company was named Tire Manufacturer of the Year and the best manufacturer in the world. Today, Michelin operates numerous production and technological facilities, as well as sales offices worldwide. Its research and development centers are constantly working on new tire models, which are rigorously tested at Michelin's testing grounds in Spain, France, and the United States. Thanks to the vast scientific potential of Michelin engineers, the company has maintained its leadership in tire production for passenger cars for many years. As of mid-2021, Michelin can proudly boast of having 9 research and development centers worldwide, 117 production sites in 26 countries, and 124,000 employees. Michelin has conquered every continent on our planet, and the beloved bibendum is today not only the main symbol of the company but of an entire era. Today, Michelin produces a wide range of tire products for automotive and agricultural machinery, bicycles, motorcycles, and even airplanes. In 2014, the company's revenue reached an incredible €20 billion, the best result in the tire market. From 1999 to May 2006, the company was headed by Édouard Michelin, but on May 26, 2006, he tragically drowned during a fishing trip off the west coast of France. After this unfortunate incident, Michel Rollier, who was not a member of the Michelin family, took over as head of the company. However, despite this, the Michelin family and the great-great-grandchildren of the main heroes of this story remain the primary shareholders and owners of the company. As you can see, friends, everything started small, from waterproof coats and children's balls. No one could have imagined that centuries later, this small production would grow into a giant with multi-billion-dollar revenues. So, what tires do you personally use on your vehicles, if you are a car enthusiast? And in general, feel free to share your thoughts on this company's success story in the comments. It will be interesting to read them. Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you soon and take care.